on social media and then publish it, right? So that ecosystem that we formed there is quite unique in its own way, and potentially, it's it forms a conglomerate as we go, right? And I think that has always been my goal. Yeah.
Okay. You're mentioning systems, you're mentioning incorporation, self-sustenance. These are terms, that exist, but they don't occur naturally to people. If we walk in the street and ask people what they know about the things that we just mentioned, some may not even know what that means and how it's done. So how or where did you learn these things from?
Okay, so it's a good question. It takes me all the way back. So my dad growing up, great influence for me. I think maybe I should check back. I started, the first hustle that I had was when I was 14 years old. Right? So obviously, in terms of background, it didn't really come from a well-off family. It was not like we used to get pocket money and stuff like that. So my dad was part of this network marketing thing called extreme fuel treatment, which is funny because we would sell a sachet about this size, right, for about $10. And the deal was every sachet that I sell, I'll get a commission from that. So, mind you, from Form 1 to Form 4, I was not allowed to play sports. The reason why is when my grades were down. Right? So on the weekends now, I would get a few sachets of extreme fuel treatment. That time we were staying in Parktown Waterfalls. So I would then go down to the shopping complex. They literally approach car by car, So most people move around with a pack of sweets and stuff like that. Easy to sell was just like 10 cents and stuff like that. But then I was selling something for $10. So now you can imagine we would call it cold calling, but approaching a customer out of the blue. Like, hey, you have a few minutes for me to just explain what this thing can do, and would you like to try it out? So yeah, that's sort of like where the selling started. And then, so because of that, one of the things that I always look up on the internet is stories on, the billionaires of the world, right? So one of my greatest inspirations is Warren Buffett. And, as just watching and learning from him, you can see how, he's an investor, he studies a business, and, he gets into it. He buys the business does well. So the idea of having a conglomerate, that for me, that's where it came from. And then now when we're looking at systems and ecosystems, we can take, we don't even have to go far. We can look at Zimbabwe. We have the great engineer, so this Travis, he has quite a portfolio under Econet Group. I'm sure it's called Econet Group now, because under Econet, you've got the telecommunications company, right, that sells airtime. Then you've got the company that provides data, that's called, I think should be Liquid, right? Then you also have the money wallet, right? All of these are ecosystems. So the same number you're using to call can be the same number you use to transfer money. Same service you're using to transfer money can buy the Wi-Fi that they're using for their company. So that's the ecosystem that they have. And then obviously the idea, is to expand and create systems and venture into different countries, just like he's done. And I think there's so much room, especially in Zimbabwe, to do that. And I understand a lot of people want to leave the country, but I see the opportunities here.
Okay, so from what you just said, I picked up two things.
Yeah.
Number one, it sounds like you were groomed to be an entrepreneur because you mentioned your father's influence.
Yes.
Not a lot of people, have that type of experience, having selling things in 14 years,
Yeah.
So grooming the second thing, research. You talked about you studying, systems, Warren Buffett, and just for clarity, you were doing this at 14.
Yeah, it was fun times,
Great, great. Wow, great. Okay, so it's a combination of grooming and research, and now that grooming and research is being applied years later in situations that you find yourself in, and that's how it's okay so naturally because it's something that's within you already. It's now just streaming out because it's an investment that you made a long time ago. It's amazing.
I personally think it's just God's grace. Because some of the things that happen, yes, you do plan, but some of these things find you whilst you're in there. So you have to be doing something. I would have never thought of getting into transport if I had not seen the opportunity working in a company. I would have not thought of solar if someone didn't mention it. Actually, let me just get into that. So, I like what one of my first clients told me, and he said he was talking about his mentor, and the statement that his mentor told him was, let it find you whilst you're doing something. That's how you sort of like just pivot and get into something that can really make you, make a big break for you. So, yeah, some of those big breaks come whilst you're doing something, not whilst you're sitting. Research, an idea might just pop in, and I'm like, I should try that. And right now we're in a really great space as a generation. We have information overload. And I think where we are going now, it's not about who has the most information. It's who can use the information that they have. So what can you do with the information that you have? I think that's the most important thing, because you can be book smart, you can know everything about everyone, right? But what can you do with it? That's what makes the difference, right? You might have the solution that might bring the solution to probably the biggest problem is HIV or cancer. You might just know it, but you don't execute on it. So it's just sort of looking at what you have, and not looking at where you are, but just looking at what you have. And
okay. That's nice. That's great. Okay. So moving on to the next questions.
Sure.
What are some of the most important elements that you need to value and monitor when running a business, like from your experience? What do you need to value and monitor?
So obviously, money is very important, because it's that's the blood of the business, right? Cash flow. I think that's the biggest thing always here, right? And you always need to make sure your cash flow is in the positive. I think that's everyone's hope. Then you need to also be very strict with your values. I think that's also one of the most important things, because it also determines what type of business you get into, how you do the business, whom you do the business with. You also need to have a very strong mission. Why are you doing? What's the mission? What's the goal? Then obviously your vision, right? What's the vision for the business? So if you really look at it, some people just get in to get money. Hence, they get in to get money and they get out. You get it. But if you have a vision, you're now looking at, okay, yes, I want to make money from this, but I still need to fulfill this vision. Under this vision, what's our current objective? Where should we place ourselves? I think that's the mission, for you to be able to execute on this vision. Then, how are we going to do it? That's when you get your values. Okay, we're going to be people of integrity. We're going to be very honest about the way we do business. We're going to be excellent. We're going to be prayerful. We're going to communicate well. Things like that. So, I guess it sort of gives you a framework of where to start and where you want to take things. Yeah.
Okay. What you're saying reminds me of this book called Built to Last by Jay Collins. It talks about that, having core values and having a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's rich. That's rich. Okay. So during your time in business, have you run into any governing or regulatory bodies or associations? For example, in the medical field, right? We have to deal with the Medical Laboratory Council, like they're there to regulate you and oversee. So in logistics and in energy and in marketing, do those regulatory bodies exist?
Obviously, the main one being ZIMRA, our regulatory authority in Zimbabwe. It's always good for people to be compliant. Register companies, pay your taxes, get your tax clearance. And obviously, law enforcement from time to time, because obviously because of the logistics, we are bound to meet police on the road. Obviously the ZIMRA, we making sure that your licenses are up to date. So I think we've never really had a problem with it. We've just really, like I say, one of our values is integrity, and excellence. So always being playing by the book, making sure that we are able to deliver someone's product without any delays, just because we don't have a license. So things like that. So we just really try to always keep things by the book.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so have you developed any trade partnerships with any international country for the production or supply of the goods or services that you offer in your business?
I think for solar, yes, because we have most of the solar equipment that most people use actually